Yo, fancy community, welcome to Proper Things, the FPL show brought to you by the TT FPL Pro-League, episode 11. And right now, it's just pain after pain. You know, when you get like a little gas pain and you feel better, and then you make a little movements and it come back and you're just on your knees right now, you just want to get better. And that is how I'm feeling right now doing these episodes now, because if it's not the points not coming, it's the injuries hitting me week after week right now. But here on Proper Things, you know, I'm dedicated to bring you all the content week in and week out. So of course we have the reviews of the past week. We look forward to the upcoming fixtures with the previews of the games. Of course, the Proper Things segment, at least the picks picking at people, the picks picking, because we almost went perfect with 11 for 12 last week in the Proper Things segment. So we have that for you all this week. And of course, the race for the 10K, where we also reveal the manager of the month for September. So without further ado, let's get into things with the review of Game Week 7. So I just talked about the pain after pain last week, Game Week 7. And it started early with the first fixture, resulting in a 6-1 win for Aston Villa versus the Seagulls. A hat-trick for Ollie Watkins, returns from Diaby and Cash. Ansu Fati did get a goal, but it was a thorough beatdown, so Villa 6-1 in that one. Arsenal rolled past Bournemouth to the tune of a 4-0 victory. Saka recovering from injury to score. Gave up 2 penalties, one to his captain Odegaard, who had a field day, returning a massive haul for his owners. Luton finally got their first 3 points with a 2-1 win over the Toffees. Everton, surprising loss in that one. United, the pressure is on. At the time of recording, they also lost their Champions League game, and they fell in last week as well to the Eagles, 1-0 Crystal Palace. Well taken goal from Anderson. Newcastle defeated Burnley 2-0. Trippier, 12 points, a dirty dozen from the Newcastle captain. West Ham defeated Sheffield 2-0. Well played West Ham in that one. Wolves, surprisingly, defeated my boys. You know, we went down to our first defeat 2-1 to the Wolves in that one. A haul on blank. Spurs beat Liverpool in one of the most controversial games you might see this season. Klopp calling for a replay like if this is WrestleMania. I don't know what's going on with that one, but I feel sorry for the Reds fan, but not really. 2-1 again to Spurs in that one. And Bueno disappointed again this game week, 1-1 in his game versus Nottingham Forest, as Brentford couldn't get the 3 points in that one. Chelsea got a 3 points surprisingly as they rolled past London rivals Fulham 2-0. And Burnley defeated Luton in the second of the double game week for both Luton and the Clarets, as they got a 2-1 win versus Luton. So those were the results of game week 7. And now let's move on to the Good Mouth segment, or the preview of Game Week 8. So now we move to the preview of Game Week 8, or the Good Mouth segment as we call it here on Proper Things. And the first game, it promises to have fantasy managers awakening early to check any leaks to see the starting lineup as Luton take on Spurs. A lot of interest will be on this game to see if Son starts, if he's fit, as the injuries again has been piling up in FPL this season. So I have Tottenham winning this game 3-0. Next up is Burnley versus Chelsea. I have Chelsea recording their first back-to-back wins. They also win this encounter 3-0. Everton versus Bournemouth. I have Everton winning this one closely 2-1. Fulham and Sheffield play out a 1-1 draw. Manchester United finish a catastrophic week with another defeat as they go down 2-1 to Brentford. Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest play out a 0-0 draw. Liverpool get a much needed 3 points after the fiasco of the past week as they narrowly get past the Seagulls in a thrilling 3-2 encounter. I also have Newcastle edging past West Ham in a close game 2-1. Aston Villa continue their work from last week with another W as they beat the Wolves to the scoreline of 2-0. And then the big game, as you could see, I'm wearing the Manchester City jersey right now. Arsenal at home versus my boys City. Promises to be a hotly contested affair, but I have Manchester City narrowly winning this one 2-1. So that was the goat mouth predictions or the preview for Game Week 8. Now we move into the most anticipated segment on the show. It's the Proper Things segment. Here we give you all the picks that you should have in your team right now and going forward with the Proper Things picks. For the aggressive players who need an injection of points immediately, the Neil Mover segment is here for you. The Spilt Milk will give the picks that should be departing your team or should not be nowhere on your radar. And the Wondering Pick segment is for those players that you should keep a keen eye on. So let's kick things off with the Proper Things picks. Last week, we had a time right with these picks, because we went 3 for 3. I mean, the Proper Things defender pick last week was Trippier, an impressive dirty dozen from the Newcastle skipper, clean sheet, assist, and 3 bonuses. So well played to Trippier. And this week's Proper Things defender pick is Anderson from Crystal Palace. I mean, what a goal last game week to sink Manchester United, clean sheet, bonuses. I mean, this guy has been hot to kick off the FPL in the first 7 weeks. And he has a pretty nice fixture versus Nottingham Forest this game week. And I like Anderson going forward as well. So Anderson is a guy you should definitely look to bring into your team if you have the opportunity. So he is the Proper Things defender pick for Game Week 8. Next, we move into the Proper Things midfielder pick. And last week, we had an asterisk next to Starboy Saka because, of course, he had the injury flag over him. Will he play or won't he play? I said that he would play. And he returned 9 points to his owners. And as one of his owners, this is a game, although he returned 9 points, you felt kind of let down because he decided to delegate 2 penalty kicks. 1 to Odegaard, 1 to Havertz. So it could have been a massive haul had he taken 1 or both of the penalties. So 9 points, but could have been bigger. This week's Proper Things midfielder pick has to be the new Spurs captain, one of the hottest midfielders goal scoring wise in the league right now, in Heung-min Son. And I know it's another injury flag, and we wait to see if he will play, but luckily for us, Luton do play Spurs in the first game this game week, so few weeks early, you could probably see if he's playing with the leaks, but I have a feeling that Son will play. This season, he has been coming off early to kind of manage the injuries, so I expect business to carry on as usual, where he plays and comes off a little early, but 65 minutes of Son versus Luton, I will take that any game week. So Son is your midfield Proper Things pick. And like last week, how we had the flag over Saka, we gave an alternative of Odegaard. Odegaard had a field day. Well, this week's alternative to Son is his teammate in one of the hottest transfers this season and hitting the ground running in James Maddison. So for those who get the leaks and if Son is not playing and you need a midfielder, maybe switching to his teammate Maddison might be one of those calls that needs to be made. So Son, the Proper Things midfielder pick with alternative pick of Maddison this game week. And now we move on to the Proper Things striking or forward pick. And last week I recommended Morris. And although he blanked in the second game versus Burnley, he already returned handsomely in the first game for his owners. And he finished with 10 points. So for those who captained Morris over Holland, he had a field day to the tune of 20 points to 4. So well done to y'all. And this week's Proper Things striking pick. I mean, when you do score a hat-trick with 2 assists, bonuses, and return 23 like the great Michael Jordan himself, eyes will be on you, and it has to be the man himself, the man of the moment, Ollie Watkins, who plays Wolves and has a very friendly fixture list going forward. So Ollie Watkins is your game week 8 proper things forward pick. I expect big things from Watkins this week and going forward. He seems to have found his scoring boots after not really scoring in the first 6 game weeks, but always finding a way to return or give his owners a drip feed. I expect the explosion to come now in the back end. So Ollie Watkins, again, is your proper things forward pick for game week 8. And as always, we always have to give a shout out to Haaland. If you have Haaland, that don't mean you're going to cut Haaland for Watkins this game week. You know, Haaland is always that shadow that looms over FPL. So just had to mention that. Now we move on to the needle mover picks for game week 8. You know, needle movers is one of my favorite segments, as this is a segment for the aggressive players out there. These are the picks that could be a 1 week punt for those who need an injection of points immediately and looking to make a move up their mini leagues and up the rankings. So let's see how the needle movers looks for this week. And last week we had our only miss, I should say, in the proper thing segment, as the needle mover defender pick was Kabori with a side of Chilwell. You know, Chilwell got injured and couldn't play in game week 7. It doesn't look like he'll be able to answer the call in game week 8 either. But Kabori had 2 games, couldn't keep a clean sheet or return any attacking points for his owners, and returned 3 points in the double game week. So I missed there for sure. But this week's defender pick, or defender needle movers pick, is Pedro Porro from Spurs, coming in at 5.0. Means Spurs do play Luton, and Pedro Porro is not only an exciting attacking option this week, as he has shown that he is not scared to take that pop shot from outside the box, inside the box, and he got the assist last week for the winning goal for Spurs off the Matip own goal in the 2-1 win. Expect Porro to be bombing down the flanks this game week and looking to absolutely terrorize the non-owners and terrorize the Luton defense. So Pedro Porro is your defender needle mover pick for game week 8. In midfield last week in the needle mover section, we had Gordon, or alternative pick of JWP. Gordon did return an assist and returned 5 points to his owners. So a little small return there, unfortunately, though he is suspended for this upcoming game week. So no points he will be able to give his owners this game week, unfortunately. And the needle movers midfielder pick for this game week is Diaby from Aston Villa. And again, we have an injury flag over Diaby going into this game week, as at the time of recording, we just heard Unai Emery state that Diaby will miss their European match tomorrow, Thursday, as he is nursing a little injury from the previous game. So time will tell if he can indeed answer the call and be fit for this weekend. But I expect Diaby to play, and if he plays, I expect him to give that injection to his owners of points. So I do like Diaby this week, and he is your needle mover midfielder pick for game week 8. And now we finish things off with the needle mover forward pick. And last week we had Jesus and Dominic Calvert-Lewin both returned to the tune of 5 for Jesus and 6 for DCL. So hits there as well. And this week's needle movers forward pick is a man who is one of the most polarizing forwards in FPL. He always seems to be in the right spots and being able to take the right shot, but it just doesn't happen. But he has returned in a drip feed this season for his owners. It's the only Darweezy 900, or Darwin Nunes as the footballing world knows him. I expect Liverpool to defeat the Seagulls in a 3-2 encounter, and with Cody Gakpo nursing an injury and Jota suspended, I mean, it has to be a start for the boy Darwin Nunes this game week. I mean, there's always that question, will he or won't he start? But with the injuries and the suspension, you have to think this is Darwin Day, or that Darwin start versus the Seagulls, who have conceded at a rapid clip this season. They have won some games, but they always seem to concede, and they just conceded 6 to Aston Villa. So Darwin Núñez, if you have the funds and the ability to make a forward striker, as you eyeing up a week 10 wildcard, it will definitely be the Uruguayan hitman. So Darwin Núñez, again, is your new mover forward pick for Gameweek. You should not be thinking of bringing into your team, as they are funky fantasy assets at the moment. And last week in the Spilled Milk Defender category, we had Malo Gusto as he was suspended, but you know, there are some managers that just need to hear that. Of course, he returned 0 points, and this game week, there's a defender that I have in my team right now who I believe is Spilled Milk, because it's really funky right now. And the boy Ruben Diaz, coming in at 5.5 mil. He has no way justified his price tag this season, as Manchester City surprisingly are struggling for clean sheets. They are winning games, except for last week where we suffered our first loss, but it's been tough sledding for Diaz owners, and I could no longer justify the 5.5 price tag. So Ruben Diaz, Spilled Milk defender pick for game week 8, especially with Arsenal this game week and a tough schedule on the horizon. And now we move into midfield, and last week's Spilled Milk midfielder pick was Solly March, and after the beatdown Aston Villa put on the Seagulls, March could only return 2 points, so it was tough sledding for his owners. And this week in midfield, we have a very popular pick. You know, this guy was touted as essential the first 4 game weeks. He was a penalty merchant, but right now the stock is plummeting at a rapid rate, and I can't really see the stock going up. I mean, he does have Manchester United this game week, and one thing going for him is that he is healthy and will play at the time of recording, that is. And if you have him in your team, chances are he will have to stay unless you're on a wild card, because unless you have one of those squads that has been immune to injuries, you have more pressing issues. But the Spilled Milk midfielder pick has to be Mbeumo this week, as he is single-handedly raising the blood pressure of his owners right now. He's coming in at 6.8. I mean, it's not a price that is a squad killer at the moment, but the returns and the position he seems to be playing now has changed in Thomas Frank's system. So the Mbeumo of the first 3-4 game weeks is no longer the Mbeumo of the last 3 game weeks. So going into game week 8, he might be a hole, but if you're on wildcard or you have the opportunity to make a pivot away from Mbeumo, I definitely recommend it. So Mbeumo is your Spilled Milk midfielder pick. And finally, we move into the forward line of the Spilled Milk segment. Last week we had Edward, who had the hamstring injury and didn't answer the call, so he didn't return anything for fantasy managers. And this week we have another very hot asset for the first 4 game weeks, who has dropped the temperature in the building for the last 3 game weeks as well, in Anayomi from Forest. It's been tough sledding for the Forest hitman, as Forest seems to be on a bad roll right now, and Anayomi doesn't seem like his usual self. So I have to put him in this category here of the Spilled Milk forward pick. So if you have the opportunity to pivot away from Anayomi, I definitely recommend it as well. So Anayomi is your Spilled Milk forward pick for game week 8. And finally, we move to the wondering pick segment. Here is where we keep a keen eye on players this game week in order to possibly pull the trigger in upcoming game weeks, or possibly even in game week 9 after the international break. So last week in the defender slot, we had Pedro Porro, who returned 7 points, had an impressive showing versus Liverpool, had the game-winning assist for the own goal, and you could see that Pedro Porro has graduated from the wondering pick to being a needle mover this game week. And this week, we have possibly one of the true game breakers, or as they call it, a template destroyer in Trent Alexander-Arnold from Liverpool with his impressive price tag. We don't need to explain the attacking prowess of Trent going forward as we've seen it in past seasons. He has simply been the #1 defender for many a year, except for last season where he was eclipsed by Trippier. But when you talk fantasy defending, you normally have Trent all over that conversation. He is set to make his return to the Liverpool starting lineup this game week versus the Seagulls in a game that I expect to finish again 3-2. So definitely an opportunity to see how Trent goes off the injury. And with Liverpool's schedule turning to a line of green beams, Trent is definitely one to keep an eye on. So game week 8 wondering defender pick is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Next we move into midfield, where we had the boy Raheem the Dream Sterling, or Raheem the Nightmare Sterling, as his owners may call him, returned a gussie or a goose egg last game week, coming off the bench late to receive a yellow card and disappoint his owners. Had Sterling here because just needed to see if there was a heartbeat for Raheem the Dream, but it seems to be going very quiet right now. They do have a game versus Burnley this game week, and he is healthy, so possibly a hole for Sterling owners. Well, this week we have the guy who scored the 1 goal after his team conceded 6. It's the wonder kid of Barca, who is currently on loan to Brighton, in Ansu Fati, coming in at 6.5 million. Young Ansu has looked impressive so far for Brighton, but we always know that Robert De Zerbi is looking to change things up on a whim, and he has a lot of options, but Fati seems to be staking his claim in the starting lineup for Brighton. So Ansu Fati, definitely want to keep an eye on this game week, and is your midfielder wondering pick for game week 8. And finally, we have the wondering forward pick, and boy, this boy needed to keep an eye on him last game week. Well, apparently he likes performing in the big games and having an audience, because he looked like prime MJ out there when he returned at 23 points. So for all the Watkins owners, congratulations to you all. If you didn't have him and you needed to see more, well, the boy showed you everything you needed to see. So congratulations again to the Watkins owners. And this week we have a sneaky pick for those who looking to wildcard and need a forward just to fill up that $4.5 or $5 million price tag and be a third option in the striking department. And I have Lyle Foster of Burnley. He made his return after a 3-match suspension and announced it with a well-taken goal in the 2-1 win versus Luton. So Lyle Foster is your wondering pick when your forward pick for game week 8. So that concludes the proper things segment for this game week. Hopefully we match the performance from last game week, where we went 11 for 12 for the picks. We had a very impressive list for you all last game week. And if you all disagree with any of the picks or think you have better alternatives, don't forget to go down in the comment section and give a reply, either bigging up the picks, criticizing the picks, or giving you little sneaky assets that you think could be better. And also, it would be kindly appreciated if you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. You know, we have the content coming each and every week for you all. So best of luck to all the managers this game week, and may all of you all get green arrows going forward. So now we move into the hot take segment, or the question of the week. And this question comes in from a Manchester United fan, one of my friends, who also has Manchester United assets in his team. And the question he asked is, head versus heart, how do you decide how to pick your fantasy assets? So this kind of mirrors the form versus fixture question from earlier this season, where I decided that I rather go with fixtures when it comes to the early part of the season, as I rather go with players who have the seemingly better fixture than the guy who has the tougher fixture over form. And here, the head versus heart debate. I think this more pertains to the Manchester fans who have, well, Manchester United fans who have Manchester United assets in their team and holding the rope tightly with Bruno Fernandes, holding the rope with Marcus Rashford, even the Mbuino owners. And I have simple but I think poignant advice for this topic. And it comes from Ezra this game week, that he said something in the group chat that FPL is a simple game. You don't need to overthink it. We basically picking players who just trying to put the ball in the back of the net and players who you think could help keep the ball out of the back of the net. And all you have to do right now is pick the players that playing well. And I couldn't put it better right now. So shout out to Ezra with that statement. And to clarify things a little bit more on that statement, right now FPL is in a state where if you're fit, chances are you're playing the next game week because the injuries just seem to be piling on more injuries and flags and flags and flags on more flags. It's fun with flags with Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory right now. So unless you're one of those owners who plan to activate a wild card, you have Marcus Rashford or Bruno Fernandes, or unfortunately if you have both, you may have to continue holding the rope a little longer because you have more pressing issues at hand. Plan, if I had both, was to possibly move on from one of those assets if it just cost me a -8 total this game week, but -8 is never pretty. So with the upcoming fixtures, you may just have to hold on, but if you have the opportunity to pivot as you have somehow missed the injuries, I would definitely recommend moving on from one of those assets right now because the game may be slipping away if you're a double Manchester United midfield owner or a triple Manchester United owner like myself, who has Højlund, Rashford and Onana. So it's pain in the camp and I do empathize with you truly, but the heart right now could just be leading to red arrows. So you need to make a move if possible. But if the injuries just destroy your team right now, like my team, you may just have to hold the rope a little longer. Hopefully they could turn things around. So I know it's a bit of a back and forth here, but that is my answer to that question. So best of luck to all my Manchester United fans and the Manchester friend who put in the question. I know he doesn't want his name mentioned. So best of luck, buddy. Now we move into the segment that has the most banter and the most rowdy group chat I have ever been a part of. It's the race for the 10K. And here is where we update the TT FPL Pro-League standings. And let's see what's going on here. And we could clearly see that we have a new leader after a unforgettable run from Kapil Ramcharan. Brandon Will by Brandon Omadat, hope I pronounced your name correctly, King, has taken the lead with an impressive 61-point game week and a 459 total points on the season. Well played to Brandon. And let's see what Brandon did this game week with his team to get that massive score. And we see he had the two Manchester City forwards in the front line with Haaland, Captain and Alvarez. Saka, Salah, Sterling, 3 S's. Mbuino and Gordon in midfield. And some big points from Trippier and Anderson. 15 and 12. He couldn't duck the Estupinian -2 as I see he has Botman on the bench. Sanchez returned 7. But Johnson on the bench with 9. So, impressive 61 points, but it could have been more at Johnson, or even if Botman could have played. So, well played to Brandon, and Brandon will taking the lead now. Congratulations. We look down now and we see in second, we have Jeff Ramdas with 457 points, 2 behind Brandon Will. And let's see what Jeff had in his team this game week. You could see Jeff wildcarded this week, and we can see Jeff had a nice 6 points from Areola. in goal, 6 from DRC, a dozen from Trips. He played the Kabore, but fortunately only got 3 points there. Gordon, Salah, Jensen, Foden, Bowen in midfield. Holland up top with double game week striker Morris and 10 points. So Jeff looking good this game week as well. Shooting now up to the second position just behind Brandon Will. In third, we have our former leader in the Doctor, Phil Foden and Kapil Ramcharan, sliding down to the third spot with a 49-point game week. Well, with the Doc's previous record this season, we have no doubt that he will bounce back in a big way this game week, and I know he is looking to retain his position at the perch at the top of the TT FPL Pro-League. To round out the top 5, we have Game of Stones by Kieran Richards in fourth, and surprise, surprise, is the man himself, Gaza Chops Ezra Ramdeen, with a massive 70 points. Coming in at fifth now. Let's just take a quick look at what Ezra did here. And we just seen Ezra with 6 from Mariola, 12 from Trippier, Kabore. He couldn't duck the Estupinian either. Martin Odegaard, 17, and Bowen, 9, and Bueno, Saka, Alvarez, Hoyland, and Haaland. And I'm feeling that Hoyland paying for him right now too as a fellow owner. And he has Marison on the bench. So Gaza, Chubbs, and Ezra making moves. If you remember, not too long ago, he was on the bottom half of the table, when the bottom 10. And look at him just a few game weeks later. Now we have more to come from this team later in the segment. To round out the top 10, we have Mark My Words by Mark Ramdat, Nunto by Rion Bisnat, Lion King by Simba La Fortune in 8th, A-Week 12 by Andre Roberts in 9th, and Ghana Rhea FC by Riyad Buchun coming in at 10th with 442 points overall. So congrats to the top 10 in the TT FPL Pro League. I know you all looking forward to the game week 8, and we can't wait to see what the updates look like at the end of the next game week. We look down the table, we look in, we seen my little cause they taking a little small red arrow this game week. Pelican be slipping out of the top 10 to 13th. White Rice Party also slipping down to 16th. He was a prominent fixture in the top 10. We have 2 White Rice Parties now are seeing, so Joshua and Salim there sharing the same name. Moving down, we seen Gaza City FC moving up to the 30th position with 424 points. Finally, we reach my team with one of my worst performances in the history of FPL with a paltry 28 points this game week. I know it was rough out there for the Legacy 10X. We just take a beating this last game week, and we slip all the way down now to 416 points on the season. And quick look at my team, you could see why. Onana, Pressure, and Odoji, Estupinian, Ruben Diaz, Foden, Saka, Mbueno, Rashford, Son, Haaland, and Hoyland. We were looking to possibly move on from 1 or 2 of those midfield assets. But right now we have more pressing issues with the injury to Estupinian, the flag on Saka, and we need to see if Son starts Saturday morning. So definitely we'll be taking a hit this game week as Estupinian needs to be moved on, possibly moving on from Ruben Diaz this game week, and I will also need to make a move in midfield to freshen up the assets. So we're looking at a -8 on the cards right now. So not pleasant sight right now in the Legacy 10X camp. So we're moving down now. See my boy Magnus, they're not too far off the pace right now in 42nd, 414 points. And we're moving down now to the bottom end of the table, where we have a new guy there, the tail with false 0.9.FC by Javon Simon with 22 points, and no the pressure, brother, with 340 points on the season. Sion Paddy going up 1 spot from the bottom to 355. An impressive 56 points, I must say. I'ma just see what Sion Paddy did this week. As always, hear this man name. And he looked good this week with the 17 from Odegaard and the 12 from Caldwell, and the captain Borussia with 12 as well. So a nice jump there from Sion Paddy off the bottom. Chapo just can't seem to climb out of the bottom cellar right now. Young Toast, Chopper, Trinidad 11 and Universal Boss. And Carrot FC by Dylan Manson round up the bottom of the table. So that was the update after Game Week 7 in the standings for the TT FPL Pro-League. And with the end of the month, we also have a Manager of the Month award to give out this week. And this guy will be on the show next game week. We couldn't bring him on this game week as I just wasn't feeling to interview him because he have all the banter right now. And without further ado, the September Manager of the Month for 2023 is the creator of the TT FPL Pro-League. It's Ezra Ramdin, ladies and gentlemen. So a little small clap for Ezra. You know, he had a tough August, but the boy rebounded in spectacular way for September. And I will let Ezra explain how that turnaround went himself next show. So I'm not going to get into that in any particulars this episode. So Ezra will be on the show next game week to enlighten us on, and probably enlighten me as well, on how to turn things around quickly. So congratulations again to my boy Ezra on winning the September Manager of the Month award. So Ezra will be on next game week. So that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section, even if it's to say Ezra didn't believe in you at first, but congratulations on the big turnaround. You know, even if it's to big up the TT FPL Pro-League creator, or even if it's to motivate yourself for this upcoming game, you big up yourself, big up the picks, or, you know, say Mike, what going on, boy? You're looking real shaky, you know, and I welcome all comments and all the banter, all the trash talk, because you know I was throwing it earlier in the season and the tables turn right now, but I'll have to find a way to break the shackles, as they say, in the upcoming game weeks. So thanks again for viewing. Don't forget again to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And we'll see you all next game week, and next episode, in episode 12. And to do proper things in all walks of life.